Hey guys, Patrick Blunt with Greenhouse Handmade here. I have been building these little fire screens for pretty much just for retail, but I wanted to show you these where these vertical bars come up. There's this little offset here that bar sits down into, and then that gets riveted in, and then all of my horizontal and vertical bars on the back side stay at the same plane. And I wanted to show you, I made a special tool for my fly press in order to make those little offsets. So I wanted to take you back and show you that tool and talk to you a little bit about how I made the tool, and then show you the tool in action. But I wanted to show you this first, so that you would understand kind of why I made that tool and what I made that tool for. So those offsets, all my vertical bars sit in there, and then they're riveted, and then it keeps the back side of this all flat for my panels to be not welded, riveted onto the back side, so that we can build these fire screens. Again, these are being milled for retail. If you want one of these, they're probably available on my website. If you don't see them there, feel free to contact me at greenhousehandmade@gmail.com, and we'll get you information on getting you one. Let's go back and look at the tool that I built on the fly press. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I built the tool, and why I built it the way I built it, and then I'll show you it bending lastly. So let's go. Alright guys, so here we are at the fly press, and here is the tool that I built. It's a pretty simple tool. Again, I just built it on my old eye shape bottom panel. This is just two pieces of 3/4 inch bar that are welded on here, and then this is my top tool, and it is just a piece of 3/8 by 2 inch bar with a piece of 3/8 by 3/4 bar welded to it right there, and then just the shaft with a piece of pipe welded on for my ring. So the reason I made it like this is that I can set this up really super fast by just letting this down on my bottom tool, and then putting a piece of 3/8 inch bar on each side of this, and underneath, if I want to have the bottom of those little offsets be flat. I honestly really kind of like them to be rounded, so I normally leave that space open so it is a little bit rounded on the bottom. Personal preference, but if you wanted them flat, then you could just make the tool to where it squishes the metal against the bottom of the tool. When I was putting this tool together, welding these round shafts to any kind of plate or any kind of tool that's got to be at a certain, levelness on the bottom side is pretty difficult. But what I did is, obviously you can stick this in your shaft and let it down on top of the plate and weld it here, but I don't want to get weld splatter all over my fly press table. So what I did was I put my shaft in, set my tool, my bottom plate, and my bottom tool in, my bottom plate on my bottom tool, the way that I wanted it to be. And I let the shaft down to where it met that plate, and then I took a tube of cheap old super glue, and I squirted it all around there, and underneath there I lifted the tool up a little bit and put some underneath there, and I left that overnight, let that set up, and by the next morning the shaft was glued to the tool exactly where I wanted it, and I could take that out and take it over to the welding table and then weld that on there, and then that's perfectly aligned with the way it needs to be when it hits here, and it's not kinky at all any which way. Alright guys, so my bottom tool just goes in here like so, if I can get it to slide down. Alright, there we go. So that's how this is going to fit on. And then my clamps will go right here. like that, and then obviously the top tool goes in right here, and I'm going to let that down before I tighten that up. So I don't have anything tightened up. My bottom tool and my top tool are both loose to each other. Now what I can do is, one, I can adjust that to where everything's straight with each other, but now I can take a piece of 3/8 inch by 3/4 bar, which is what the size of the bar that this tool is made for, to be able to do those pass-throughs. And I can take this bar and I slide it in on the side here, and then I can shift my bottom plate to where everything is tight. If I had another piece, I could shift it and put a shim on the other side, but you don't really need it. One shim's good enough here. So once I'm happy with where everything's fitting, then I'm gonna start tightening these down. What this is going to do is ensure that everything stays exactly where we want it. Now, like I said, and you can't see this, well, you kind of can in the back there. Well, that's in your way. There's a space underneath here of 3/8 inches. That space is to allow the metal to have enough space to bend in there. It is a little bit big when I get those bends in. So if I wanted to, I could put like a little 3/16 or 1/4 inch plate in the bottom down there, and it would flatten that bottom. I like it to stay a little round. I think it actually kind of looks nicer, but personal preference. That's just something that if you make one of these tools, if you do this kind of work, just kind of learn it and play with it and figure out what you like. Not everybody gonna like the same stuff, and there's really no right or wrong in this. All right, so now we're all attached, so I can lift my tool off. I can take my spacer out, and you can see what we're getting here. All right, so why don't I heat a bar up and squish one in here, let y'all see how this is gonna work. All right, guys, so look here, I can just put my bar in. I'm just kind of eyeballing squareness here. And you can see what that does. Gives me that nice set down. Again, I like that bottom being kind of rounded. Then I'll take this over to the anvil real quick and just true everything up on my flats, and then I'm good to go. Now, if you need, I'm gonna get down here so y'all can see my beautiful face. If you need offsets in the exact same spot on multiple bars, what I do is I'm actually setting up stops on this side, so then I can take my bar and slide it in until I hit my stop, and then I'm eyeballing squareness off the front of my tool, because my front of my tool is perfectly square. I know that's square, and I know that's going to be nice and square to that because I put it in there and lined it all up with that little shim, right? So I'm eyeballing squareness off the front, and then I can set this down on there and give it a good tug, and it'll normally set it in, and then I can go ahead and start, giving it some up and downs and finishing it out. I did make it to where I was hoping it would end up flat right here, but this side over here, for some reason, always tends to tweak on me. So you can see there's a little tiny gap in there. It tweaks down on me. So I do have to go back to the anvil and just whack it one time, which is really not a big deal to get those all flat. But there you go. Quick and easy offsets that will then accept this size bar going right through it, and you can see how that stays nice and flat right there. You can attach something in the back of it. Drill a hole right through there and put a rivet, and then I can put anything I want to on the back and it stays flat. So cool, guys. I hope that helps some of you guys, especially some of y'all that have fly presses and are trying to figure out toolage for them. You can pretty much do anything with these machines if you're smart enough and can think about it. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please check out my other work on my website, Greenhow Handmade, at greenhowhandmade.com, on Instagram at Greenhow Handmade. Please consider coming and taking a class with me if you need help. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.